Welcome back to Obstacle Discourse with Davis and Chace. I can't say it properly. 1 week I'm going to get it right. And for some reason, it didn't show up in the feed last week after all that trouble of coming up with a cool name. That was so disappointing.
I know. We come up with a great name, and then Apple borks it.
What, the ghost of Steve Jobs.
Well, it's the podcast app. That thing sucked.
Were you the one that had something to say about Steve Jobs?
Something bad? I love Steve Jobs. He was like my hero.
Oh, okay. I can't remember. I don't know where you sit because you're on the Universal Xfinity side of things. So
I am pro Steve. I'm up here with Steve Jobs. Other people are down here.
Okay. So a couple things we want to talk about. First, the other countries got their handful of spots announced in the Spartan Championships.
Handful is the right word there.
So you go from 80 in the U.S., 10 Canada, Mexico, French, spouse, and lots of European stuff, and then the rest of you're screwed basically.
Yeah, I don't even
know what DACH stands for.
I don't know what DAC stands for anyway. I don't know. You'll find it in the meantime. What I find, not that I find funny, it's I think the reasoning for it is probably sound, right? It's in Tahoe. The majority of people that are going to go are from the U.S. I totally get that. But in trying to grow this global brand, is the real concern that people don't go to Tahoe, or is the real concern that there's like no quality athletes from UK, Ireland, DAC, Middle East, South African, SCA, South American? Like they're grouping all of Europe, all of the Middle East, all of South Africa, which for lack of anything is the entire African continent because they only have that one race there, and all of South America. So all of there's only 5 spots for each region and country.
All right. So I'm going to, thanks to Wikipedia, I'm going to break down a little bit for you. DACH is composed of the country codes for Germany, D, Austria, A, CH, Switzerland, punning on Dachsprache. And Dachsprache is a language that is sort of a mashup of all these things. And the etymology is Dach, which means German, and Sprache, which is like umbrella. So there you go. It's an umbrella.
See, to those, remember when you offended the entire hemisphere?
Right. I'm making up for it.
So we're learning. We're taking this opportunity to learn about Dach. That might be insulting, adding that to the end of it. But
well, I mean, that is how you say it, right? That is how you say it.
I'm assuming.
So Asian Pacific, APAC, I only learned about when I raced in China, humble brag. So now I know what they would, otherwise I'd be like, what the heck is APAC, right? But I know that. And it's interesting that, yes, we want to have most of these spots because of the Americans, but right, if the goal is to get the whole world there, don't you, like, instead of 80, could they have done 50? It's still a lot of spots.
You know what I think the most telling thing will be is the 2020 season. And when I'm going to make a bold prediction and say that the World Championship is not going to come back to Tahoe, and it might not even be a prediction as much as it's a wish, like get the hell out of Tahoe and go somewhere else. What would happen to those numbers if the World Championship went to where's the next big country for Spartan? It's going to have to be in Europe somewhere, right?
I would say the next biggest country is the continent of Europe. And if we get Joe or David on the phone, they could probably tell us where the highest numbers are.
I mean, we can. No, it's just European. I was going to say we could probably pick it out of these numbers, but so let's say it goes to Europe. Right. I don't doubt that these numbers probably stay close to the same. Obviously, I think the European numbers grow because you're going to get a ton of people from the varying countries around there, or country states, however they refer to them. But I think they're still going to make space, make room for America, because we're going to be the ones that travel. And I was having this discussion a little bit on Discord earlier about Iceland. Is people want to bring the World Championship to the United States. I'm like, you don't have to do that because the United States races will travel. That's proven. Like, we are migrant. We'll go wherever Spartan goes and we'll be there, where other people obviously will not, as proven by this list of available slots in the 2019 Championship Series event.
I think it's going to stay in Tahoe for much longer than it should because of whatever deal they've got there. They think it's ideal, this Olympic setting, et cetera, et cetera. I think that we might start to see other championships. So they already admitted a team championship. And what if they did do, let's call it a sprint championship, and it didn't get a lot of love and it didn't get like the hype that everything else gets, but it's like the start. And so they throw that in Europe next year.
I mean, I guess they could do that. That's not exciting at all.
It's my prediction.
Yeah. I mean,
that something like that would happen before the whole thing moves.
So let's talk about one of the topics we were going to cover, the the Ultra World Championship, previously held in Iceland.
Right.
So Spartan said on Instagram, big news, one of our 3 world championships is moving, and they've already confirmed Tahoe and they've already confirmed Sparta. So that leaves Iceland as the location that possibly may change. Are they going to cheese out and go back to Iceland and say, well, we're moving the team world championship to, I don't know.
Right. That would be very lame, but also very Spartan-like.
Not unexpected.
I have heard rumblings that we're looking at somewhere in the Norway, Finland, Sweden area. Mm-hmm. What do we call that? Scandinavian countries?
Scandinavian.
Which would be awesome, right? Super amazing destination race. I mean, I think by doing that, they firmly established, look, we're not trying to be like world's toughest and it's just this 24-hour race we do. It's become this destination thing. Like that, they put their flag in the ground as that's what this is for us, which I kind of like. I like that it's very different from World's Toughest that way. Some things about it I don't like, but I think that's also very Spartan-like. Like even when Joe first started saying the Agoge was in China, I'm like, whatever, Joe, you mean China, Vermont, you know what I mean? Or whatever. But clearly, that can't be a moneymaker. That can't be a moneymaker either.
No, I mean, you're getting like 30 people to show up. So I can't imagine you're making much money.
Right. So these flagship events that put Spartan on a global scale, that make it this cool destination race. I mean, there were so many mainstream articles about John Albon's $1 million Chace. Like it worked, right? Like, does that convert to actual sales? Who knows? Who cares? But I mean, in terms of just press, I got email alerts constantly from Google that other people had picked up this piece of news.
Yeah, I mean, it sort of worked. It got people talking, and I think the people outside of the industry that aren't familiar with John Albon and aren't familiar with how these races work saw it as a lot bigger thing, which I guess is probably the idea. And I think you probably knew and I knew, and, not to pat myself on the back, but I totally predicted he pulled out of the race pretty early into it. So I think he was hyped into going by Joe and team there. And, they did the whole, we're going to follow you around for the 2 weeks leading up to it. We're going to film it, document it, and all that stuff. And I'll be interested to see what Joe does to offer the $1 million again in 2019, because he said he was going to, and he's just going to move the goalposts a little bit on what the requirements will be for winning it. I'd love to see him. I don't want him to give it away, but I would love to see it be achievable. Doable. And I would love to. Yeah, and I'd love to see it be achievable for more than one person. It loses a little luster.
Well, I think even he realized that, and I was speaking with him in the days leading up to it and afterwards, and I think he wants to like Joe's mind works 1 million miles an hour, and he goes, what we should do? X. And then that sometimes happens. Sometimes the ball drops. Sometimes he'll forget about it until 8 months later. Oh, shit, by the way. And that's where these crazy last-minute rules and things come up. But, the train's moving super fast over there. And I think that it's proof of concept that, okay. I mean, but here's the thing, dude. Like, we're so close to it. Like, I feel like an idiot because I could have written those articles, right? I should have reached out to Runner's World. I should have reached out to whoever and been like, hey, do you want this content? And instead, they just snagged the press release and had their own people reach out for a quote. And it's like, damn it, because I'm not thinking that way. Now I'm starting to think that way more because I want to get paid, essentially, to do this stuff. If I'm going to be the number one resource for this, it shouldn't just be for me and you to mess around on Wednesday afternoons, right? So, but it was like, oh, duh, of course this is a huge deal. I mean, the people in the ultra community were losing their mind. $1 million, you know what I mean? Yeah. But we were all just like, whatever, $1 million, he's not going to win it. You know what I mean? We were too, what's the word? Blinders.
We had blinders on. Yep.
Right. So yeah, we should step back more is what I'm saying and look at what's happening. And that's where I'm trying to give Spartan a little bit of leeway with this whole thing. And again, keep pointing it back to the CrossFit that while many people are complaining about what it is, if you look at what a guy is doing who's looking down the road, not right in front of him, or the 500-foot view, whatever business meeting analogy you prefer, like there's something going on here other than just what's in front of your face this week.
Yeah, and the goal obviously is to grow the brand and to get new people to participate and new blood
and hopefully get to the Olympics and kind of teach people that it's this world thing.
Yep. And I find it funny because your interview with Devin Yanko that you did on your last podcast, and I first off had no idea who that was. I had to ask. But they're transitioning from ultra running events and being incredibly successful to now they're doing what, World's Toughest Mudder. So the opportunity is there, and I can't speak to how many big ultra events have these massive purses that people can win, but I can't imagine they're giving out, $25, $50, $100,000 at a lot of these events. So if the money is there, then maybe this is the way to back, getting more people into the industry that previously looked at it and were like, I don't want to go run in the mud.
Yeah, and that's always our charge, I feel like, is to show people that it's community-based. It's an amazing challenge. It's not silly. You're not going to get hurt. Like, these are all the things that people don't understand or realize. I mean, I think like Nicodemus is phenomenal, right? The guy is one of the few Barkley finishers ever, and the youngest and the fastest, I think. And he had two great runs at it, and a third run where he was on a team that the team fucked up, and so he had to bail out. And then he had two great 8 to 12 hour runs, and then it wasn't his day and he bailed. And that happens. But if a guy like that stuck it out year in, year out, he probably would have made the podium. Maybe not now, because now the fields got deeper. But if a guy like him does it, then other people see that. And I'm sure Devin, meeting and getting close with Amelia in the last couple of years, it's not an accident that now she's going to try it, right? She's not just looking at videos. Right. She's talked about it. She's asked how they compare, how they differ. What do I need to do? I was trying to very gently let her know she's in for a pretty rude awakening. And, if she proves me wrong, great. But I feel like that's what I took away from her conversation with Heather, was that it was like, whoa, this is fucking hard. It's really hard to be your best for 24 hours when you're freezing, when you're underwater a lot, and when you need every muscle in your body to get over a wall at 4 a.m. That's right. It doesn't mean you could be the fastest 100-miler in the world and it doesn't translate. So, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Yeah, and I want her to come over and do well because I think it's cool.
Right. And we saw Spartan bring CrossFit, winners to Iceland last year, and I think she did good just because there was not a huge attendance and maybe not the best caliber of 24-hour runner there. But the other thing is, can we talk about how the Ultra World Championship is a completely different race format than the Spartan Ultras that we compete in 365 days a year, and what sense that makes or lack thereof?
Well, so let's go through it, right? So first it was Spartan wants to do this thing that's like the biggest, baddest OCR of them all. So what's harder than a beast? Well, let's do an ultra beast. You got the word ultra for ultra marathon. You give away a cool medal, now buckle. Okay, that's really working. Now they're in Hawaii. Now they're all over the place. Well, now let's just separate it into its own category called ultra, okay?
Yep.
So what's the other option? To send them 24 hours around a 30-mile course? I mean, is it really?
Well, I mean, they've got options. They just choose not to exercise them. So the 24-hour thing, logistically, you can't do that. There's a reason Tough Mudder only does it once a year. There's a reason Spartan only does it once a year. It's just not – you can't –
Did you see that? Did you see that?
I didn't see it.
I'm going to have to rewind that if it's on film.
I don't think it made the camera.
My coffee just exploded.
I don't think that you can do a 24-hour event all the time. And that's not really what I'm asking, but what
are you asking, Josh?
Well, so look at the Iceland Ultra. It's a 5 or 6 mile looped course, right? And you did it for 24 hours. So here's what I propose. They called it Ultra in 2018, but in reality, it's still an Ultra Beast. They only put it on Beast course, and you loop twice, blah, blah, blah. Do you need to answer that?
No, but I want to show you who it is. Don't say it out loud, but I want to show you who it is. So,
look at that.
So I do want to talk to this person, but
right.
I won't talk right now. And it's not Joe DeSena.
So that person or that race is like, it's still a 2-lap beast. And they've done a better job at putting like an ultra specific lap in there. And the ultra specific lap in Jersey last year sucked. It was downhill. It was miserable. I'm sure this year it'll be even worse. But now they're adding them to like South Carolina. And then you're adding them to Ohio. Like, for God's sakes, the Ohio course, the elevation change had to be like 4 feet last year. It was absurd. So I get it. You want to get more people into the race, and everybody's doing ultras now because it's just the natural graduation, right? You've done the trifecta, you've done Killington, you've done Tahoe, you want to do an ultra, and people are going to hate me for saying this, but like the Ohio Ultra and the Dallas Ultra and the Spartanburg, South Carolina Ultra, those are like Fisher-Price Ultras.
Whoa!
But let's be honest, those are entry-level ultras, and Spartan is designing them that way to get people to then want to go do Jersey and then want to go do Killington and want to go do Tahoe and then want to go do Iceland or whatever it'll be.
Right. As a short list of 2012 to 2014 Killington Ultra Beast DNFers, I was one of the first people to be very upset when I saw even New Jersey, I think, was that the first one? That was like the other not.
Yep.
And then certainly Hawaii, when people were finishing in the middle of the day, and I was like, this is not an Ultra Beast. I think at the end of the day, they speak for themselves, right? We all know that Killington and Jersey are the hard ones, right? Killington, let's call it like the whatever one, right? The hardest one. And then it goes from there. And then there's years that it's probably easier, right? Well, when I did it, it was sunny. When you did it, it was the year without the second dunk or what, you know what I mean? So I think it's just kind of like, all right, just the same way that a Georgia sprint is easier than Palmerton, which I think puts you up a mountain even though it's a sprint, right?
Right.
So
I get that.
I'm okay with it now. And I do think that I do want to do Jersey as a prep. Like, okay, if I can finish that one, then I can probably then do Killington next. But I know that if I do Carolina, which is, got some rolling hills, but nothing to... I mean, last time I did Carolina, it was one of those situations where the difference between the beast and the sprint was like go 5 miles out in the woods, go over a wall, come back, and that's how they tacked it on. One of those sort of, which I know you guys had that issue in Barrie, right?
Yeah, and I guess what I'm trying to get at is more of a proposal, right? The 2014 Ultra Beast, that was the single loop Ultra back in the day, right?
Well, right.
And was that, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't you have to bring your bin? Wasn't it at the top of the mountain that you had your bins? Was that the year?
The night before, you had to park it, right?
Yeah, you had to bring your bin in. But I think it was at like the lodge at the top of Killington, wasn't it?
I just remember every year the night before you had to do your bin because they didn't open it at 6. I mean, you could technically sneak it over there, but like the way to go was the night before. And I remember in 2012, I distinctly remember, and 13, driving to the other side where the spear throw was, and then I guess I got a ride to go back and get it when the race was over. I can't even remember.
Yeah, and the thing that I'm aiming towards is, so now you got a ton of people doing Ultra Beasts now. Just you've got an inherent built-in audience already. Now you're doing these trail races, and the trail races don't require a ton of volunteers or staff to be on course, right? Just send you out 21 kilometers somewhere and run back. Have an aid station, every 3, 6, 8 miles or whatever, but bring back the single loop Ultra Beast. And you can't do it everywhere. I get that because there's physically just not enough space, but you're going to get to a point where people are going to stall out and be like, I don't have anything else left to do. And there's this graphic making its way around the community about the mountains, like you did the sprint, the super, blah, blah, blah. There's one that says ultra extended on there, and people like losing their minds if that's even real. I don't think it's real. It's probably just photoshopped. But give me a single loop ultra that I can go out and mix that world of ultra marathons, trail racing, and self-supported to an extent. Give me that in the form of an Ultra Beast. And then, even hell, give me that in Ohio. Put me out for 31 miles in the wilderness of bloody Ohio. And that is a heck of a lot more appealing to me. So I guess I just don't want the event to get played out and it to turn into something that, like basic beasts have turned into now.
Yeah, dude, I think you have a great point. And I think this is again one of those good discussions for like a Mike Morris, a guy that helps design and do that with actual courses. Yeah. Because I know that he's whatever he's charged with doing, he's also like he has the racer in mind. I mean, I've had enough questions with him that it's not. I don't just get corporate BS from him, right? It's like, this is the kind of experience we want to have, and this is how we do it, and these are the parameters I'm giving, and this is what we've learned. And I really like him and Nolan, to me, are like two of the smartest guys in the industry, and we're really lucky to have them.
If only Mike Morris would return my emails, because I wanted to grill him about 2019. But all right, cool. Well,
so you should have these questions with him about it. Get him on your podcast.
I tried, but he's not answering my emails.
All right, I'll see if I can help you out with that. But real quick, what if I told you that of all the categories we've talked about, Ultra, Stadion, but what if I told you there's another one coming?
Another distance?
That I can't even tell you about yet.
Would you confirm if I guessed and I got it right?
Not on the air, but off the air.
Okay. Is it short? It's short, right?
He's holding his hands very close together. I'm not going to say, but the point is that I was like, how did they should? I feel like learn from Tough Mudder, who went from one race series to half 5K TMX tougher all 1 year, right? Pretty much 18-month period. Let's launch all this shit. And then now half of it's gone. Can't Spartan learn and let's see how maybe the trail series does for a year before we add another thing. Like, let's just, right? Or let's just try to make Ultra amazing 1 year. Like, that's just, I feel like, you know what I mean? Maybe they're so rich. Maybe they're so cash positive. They're like, fuck it. We'll just try all this and whatever works, works. Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I can't imagine that's the case, but
that they're that cash positive.
If they are cash positive, yeah, I mean, cool. Maybe 2019 will make them cash positive by charging $6 bag fees to every single racer, no matter what. But you're right. There's in our industry, there's what they call a soak period, right? You put something out there and you let it soak. Does it work? Does it not work? Do you have to get rid of it? I can't imagine there's a lot of employees that can do all these different things, right? It, Stadion, Super. Let's do Super 2.0 and let's take a Super and do 2 laps of a 4-mile course. Like, it's just ridiculous stuff.
Can you give me an example of the soaking period?
Yeah. So without releasing any identifiable information, right? All right. Here's a good example. I'm going to use somebody else so as not to incriminate myself. Instagram, like a month ago. People opened up their Instagram app and all of a sudden you had to swipe sideways to go down your feed instead of scrolling up and down. And Instagram goes, oh, we're totally sorry. That was a mistake. That wasn't a mistake. They said, we're going to roll this out, see what people feel about it, and then take that reaction. That was called the soak period. So they send it out there. Twitter loses its mind. It says, this is garbage. Give me it back. And they roll it back and they're like, oh, we don't know what happened. That was totally a mistake.
All right. Well, but how
you don't mistakenly design your entire UI. It's a test.
Well, how about Facebook? Whenever they change anything, people lose their mind and then they get over it and forget what it looked like before.
That's very true. Like the Messenger app on my phone now looks like the email app on my iOS device. And I was pissed for a day and now I don't care and whatever. I mean, we'll get over it.
So why did Instagram not stick to its guns is what I'm saying. Because I feel like you're always going to have that reaction. If you changed anything about Xfinity's what's front facing, UI or UX?
UI, yeah.
If you changed anything about how I look at my channel guide, I'm sure for a day I'd be like, oh fuck, and then I'd forget about it and I'd move on, right? But you're not gonna you wouldn't necessarily care that you got 1,000 angry emails because those angry emails would go away.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on the nature of the change and how impactful it is. If it impacts somebody's bottom line experience, then you might lose customers because of it. And Facebook is a publicly facing company. We're a publicly facing company. So you gotta report to the shareholders and you got revenue and all that stuff. But Spartan Race doesn't really have that. They've got partners that they got to deal with. But if they go out and screw something up or they launch 17 new products and 12 of them fail, they don't care. That was a good trial. The problem is they don't give these an honest enough effort to see if they can fix it, build new efficiencies, get better, and then, develop the 2.0 version of the trail series or whatever. I mean, we haven't seen the 1.0 version of the trail series except for these 2 beta tests. So,
right.
I don't know. I just want some new obstacles. That's it.
Me too. Well, I was going to save this for next week because we've already talked for half an hour and I wanted to keep these short, but I just can't help myself. We've got to talk about Terrain Race legitimately selling out waves, or at least saying they are, right? Yep. My city, if you go to Saturday, you cannot purchase any of the time waves. They say 0, but you can now buy Sunday. So that guy was not bullshitting me. And if they are hitting these ridiculous numbers, if they have 8,000 in a day, that's to me is ungodly. But even a few thousand a day, what you and I talked about was, okay, great. Now what happens when there's, wipeout race backups, right?
Yep.
On every obstacle. And hate to say it, but shoddy construction and obstacles break with that much throughput. So, I feel like the storm is brewing, dude.
Well, it's going to be either a colossal success and they're going to rewrite, the playbook for how to gain an audience in the obstacle course racing industry, or it is going to be an ESPN 30 for 30 story in the making of this is where it all went wrong. And Boston hasn't quite sold out. There's like 2 or 3 more waves. Can we even say sold out? I haven't sold any registrations, but
like I said, if they're collecting 13 and they give 4 to the insurance company and they give, let's call it $1 per person for the medal and $1 per person for the t-shirt and another, they got to pay their staff. So, I mean, really, it's nothing. I forgot about that. The other $3 or $4 you got to pay to get people there. But again, if they're going lean and mean, they're not paying that many people to get there. And they're doing, this is the part that makes it interesting. They are doing the other 2, the foam glow and the black light, which you can produce pretty cheaply. And a bad experience at those is like not nearly as bad an experience as a bad experience at an obstacle race.
Right, because the bubble run isn't going to break your leg and end you in the ER. And I just got a bubble run free registration email today, actually.
Right. And again, so whatever the profit is, okay, let's say this finally stops. Let's say at some point the madness stops, whether it's middle of this year, end of this year. Then what? Next year, it's like, okay, we go back to 30, which is still really cheap. We go back to $30 and we capture 10% of those people, 15%. People are like, that was so good, I'll totally pay 30% this year. Because clearly the free Groupon grab, we've learned, doesn't work for hair salons, let alone an obstacle race that you have to drive to and get a sitter for, right? People will chase the deal, but will they come back at any price? I'm so flabbergasted at what this is going to be.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting. So they've always been at like that 60-30 price point, right? It's 60 the everyday price, 30 for the sale price. Where do they go from here? Are they expecting to get 80% of these customers and charge them full price and get $60 out of 80% of 8,000 people? And I think it proves that people want to do these events, but price obviously is the biggest prohibitive factor. And you have to be respectful of the person's dollar, and at the same time, you also have to be self-aware of what your product is. Terrain can't go out. All right.
Well, but sorry to interrupt you. Let's add this piece, okay? The no-show rate is already close to 20% for an obstacle race, right?
Yeah.
What do you think happens when someone's only paid $13 and they wake up that morning, hungover, forgot to train, just don't fucking feel like it? Their friend isn't doing it, so they're not doing it. I mean, they've got to be banking on massive no-show, right?
Of course. I mean, the no-show rate is going to bump up to 50% if it rains, for God's sakes.
But not before a lot of comments on the day of event page. Is the event happening if it's raining?
I mean, look at me. I bought 3 registrations for it, and I'm like, I might not even go that weekend. I might go do something else. So I don't even, it's well,
you've got to pull off the Warrior Dash 2 first, so you have to go. You've got to bring us exclusive New England content. I am definitely going because I've got to see the shit show in person, right? I can't be talking about it all this time and not go. So I will be there.
So they've got our interest, at least to an extent.
Yeah, I'm just so woo. I mean, who would have thunk that this would actually happen? That this we'd been joking about it, and now they're adding day 2s.
Yeah, free registration is. Just opened my inbox and I have emails from them. Free registration in Boston is ending now. It'll be interesting. We will see come summer of 2019 where terrain race is.
Well, let's see. When's their first race?
They have a race in February. I know that. I don't know if they have a January event.
I got to get somebody down there for this first look of terrain 2019. Hang on.
That might be the only to race terrain. Might horribly.
Oh, shoot. Hang on.
February 9th, Miami. Miami's also sold out on Saturday, so now they've got Sunday open. And then they go to Orlando a week later. So do you trust, and this might have to be another episode, but do you trust Terrain Race, proven quality obstacle design and build, to take their race down on a Monday morning and get it to Orlando, get it built by Saturday? And then they go to Phoenix and Albuquerque.
Well,
and
they got to have two sets of trucks because they've got some same race weekends. So Miami to Orlando is, what is that, 5 hours, 6 hours?
5-ish hours, yeah.
So if you pack up Saturday night, right, and you fold them up because you didn't really use good screws anyway, I mean, I don't know, right? And then it's almost worth going to. I mean, it really is like almost worth me like spending my time and effort, but I won't. I'll wait for them to be here and we'll just see. I mean, I think it might be one of those like crazy situations where people are like, registration line 3 hours, obstacle line 1 hour, bag check 2 hours. You know, it could be one of those things. And, you know, dear, here's the post. Dear terrain maniacs, whatever they call the racers, we would love to refund you for your bad experience, but you didn't really give us anything. So,
oh my God! I just solved all their financial problems.
What's that?
The morning at registration, when you go to check in, they sell a $5 preferred obstacle like lane pass. Want to skip the lines? $5 will get you the fast pass, the obstacle fast pass. Christ.
All right. I think that's a good place to wrap up.
I agree, man.